Amazon's had a busy week. It released its earnings report on Thursday, sending the stock soaring. It hiked the cost of subscription for Prime members, $137 a year now. On Friday, it dropped its latest series in full, Reacher, based off the Jack Reacher books. And that shouldn't be confused with Amazon's other series, Jack Ryan, which stars John Krasinski and has been renewed through season 4. Also on Friday, Jeff Bezos is dismantling a recently restored bridge so his 417-foot super yacht can pass through. There's no punchline to that. That is a real story, and it exemplifies the times that we live in. It's Saturday, February 5th, 2022, and you're listening to today's episode. Favorite Alan Ritchson role?
Thad Castle, BMS.
Blue Mountain State.
Yeah. I also like him in Titans, but I mean, I feel like he's most known from BMS, right?
Aquaman, Smallville.
Right.
Hawk, Titans. Arthur Bailey from the short-lived Grindhouse series, Blood Drive. And he also likes to pop up in random places like Black Mirror or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or that kid.
Well, he was a main in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? Like he was
Raphael.
Turtles. Yeah.
Is that the one who likes pizza? I think it might be. Okay. Have you ever seen the Tom Cruise movies for Jack Reacher?
I saw the first one.
You saw the first one. Did you ever read any of the books?
No.
Okay, and you've watched this pilot now. What can you tell me about Jack Reacher? Like, how would you define him if you were to combine the two versions of him that you've seen?
Confidence, and at least in this TV show, like his size is a big deal.
Yes.
Like even within the first 5 minutes, there's a guy who's kind of yelling at his girlfriend. You're not sure if he's going to hit her or not, and then Alan Ritchson just walks up there and doesn't even say a single word.
So he's like the Chad, the dude bro.
Yeah, and the guy is just like, "Oh, sorry, it won't happen again."
He's like the Pepsi commercial.
Yeah. But and then I think with the Tom Cruise one though is more just about like he was more suave in that role in the film.
Mm-hmm. He was also a lot shorter.
Yeah, and older.
Well, yes, and older. The actual birth date for Jack Reacher is like 1960. So, but that's obviously been pushed up for this. The first book came out in like 97, so he would have been like 37 years old.
And there's like 20 books or something, right? There's
more
a ton
than
of
20.
them. Yeah,
and a lot of short stories. But you say confidence. That's a good way of defining him. He's also a vagrant. He doesn't really have any baggage behind him. That was sort of the point in writing his character. The way that Lee Child decided to make him was that he wasn't going to be like a burnt detective or someone who had lost someone close to them. He was just going to be a traveling wanderer who knew how to beat shit up.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so you have Jack Reacher in this role or Alan Ritchson playing Jack Reacher. And then there's Malcolm Goodwin who plays Oscar Finley. He works for the police, right?
Yeah, he's like the main cop, the hard ass that
the
like
chief.
everyone goes to. Yeah.
Okay, and he's used to like these type of roles. He was the iZombie detective who would partner with
that guy. I feel like he's shown up in a ton of TV shows that I've seen.
recognized him?
I mean, at least that or iZombie or something like that. I thought that he was playing, I believe the main.
He's not the coroner. He's not the guy who showed up in The Haunting of Hill House.
Yeah, but we've done like a lot of shows where you mention people from iZombie, so it's almost like we can do
Rose
a 6
McIver
degrees type thing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but
she's in Ghost now.
Here, I thought that it might be one of those things where he was going to be evil because I remember I think it was Emerson, that was the name of the evil villain in the first one, also was like a police chief type of person. But
does he come across as evil? Is there something he says that triggers you to think, okay, this could be a villain?
There's tension between the two.
Oh, there's tension.
Throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, we'll get into the plot really soon. I just want to introduce everybody
Right,
first.
yeah.
So we have, again, Jack Reacher, we have Oscar Finley, and then there's Roscoe Conklin, who also works with Oscar Finley. So she's part of the police.
She's the good cop. Yeah, she's like the nice cop.
Willa Fitzgerald, she's from MTV's Scream, and her portrayal here is a lot less damsel in distress than it is in the books.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Here she like never gets in trouble. Well, not really. She's not like a hard ass, but she's like the type of cop that you would like if you were arrested by her. If you were arrested by her, she like just seems really nice. Like she even gives Jack Reacher coffee through the jail cell at one point.
Mm-hmm, but it's black coffee, right?
Yeah,
that's a big deal in the books. Okay, then you also get other characters. We don't have to go into them. There's the mayor. There's Charlie Hubble. There's and then
Charlie Hubble, yeah, he like admits to killing someone in this, but doesn't actually kill them.
No, Charlie is the wife, actually. Do you see her in this episode?
No.
Oh.
You see her husband. Like her husband plays a main role.
She might not be in the first episode, but she's another Smallville alum, Kristen Crook. I'm not sure if there's anybody else who shows up.
We are introduced to like two people that kind of run the town. They're very young and they're evil. Their names are KJ and Dawson.
Okay.
That's for Margrave, Georgia, where this takes place.
Yes, welcome to Margrave, the first episode. Let's jump into the plot now. Tell me about the good and the bad.
Well, this episode reminded me of Mr. In Between, which, if you remember that, I was pretty keen on, and that's because there's a certain dynamic that happens. Right? Yeah, there's a certain dynamic that happens because Jack Reacher within the middle of this episode actually goes to jail along with the husband of Charlie Hubble. Is that the woman's name?
Yes.
Yeah, Hubble is just what they call him here. But apparently, this Hubble guy, these cops go over to his house, and they're interviewing him. They're wanting to know exactly what happened because in Margrave, Georgia, someone has been gunned down. There's been a murder. That was the first scene of the show.
So you see the murder?
Yeah.
But do you see who did
No,
it?
you didn't see who did it,
okay.
And you don't really know what the body looks like because it was through a cornfield or something like that. And yeah, but they get shot down. So they go to this Hubble's house because they're like, this guy might have done it. And as they're interviewing him, the Hubble guy looks out his window and he sees a car, just a plain black car, and he's like, I did the murder.
So he's intimidated.
Yeah, he's incredibly intimidated, and it's obvious he didn't do it.
Yes.
But they keep on asking him. They're like, so you did the murder? You shot this guy in the face with
And the people interviewing him, are they Malcolm and Willem? Or sorry, their names in the show, Oscar and Roscoe?
It was Finley and Roscoe. So
yes.
And
Oscar
so they decide to bring him in. But also, what happens in the very beginning is you are introduced to Jack Reacher.
Yeah.
That's the day before. He walks up to this person who's about to beat up his girlfriend and just stands there. And then the guy is like, "Oh, sorry, it won't happen again." And a big question, a big question throughout this whole entire episode is, why is Jack Reacher in Margrave? That's something that every single person wants to know.
It's actually Eno. That's the name of the town.
That's the place. Yeah, that's the place to go to.
So they're following the book almost very faithfully throughout this entire series.
The first book,
the first book.
Okay,
yes.
Yeah. So he decides to go into a restaurant. There's even a funny scene where he gets pie, Jack Reacher, and
It's not pie in the books though. I'm just saying. Go ahead.
he's eating
it's
it,
eggs.
and suddenly these cops start to surround the restaurant, and it's funny because he's looking around. He sees an old couple, and he sees some kids because he's trying to figure out if the cops are coming for him.
This does sound funny.
And before he takes a bite of the pie, they come in and they're like, "Put your hands up and interlock your fingers. You're under arrest for murder." And it's one of those things. He has one of those faces this thing.
Just again.
Yeah. So
happens all the time.
He goes to this precinct and they start to interview him. One of the questions is, why did you go to Georgia? And he then we get a weird flashback. This was something that I kind of want to comment on later, but it was to 1998. And
so is this good or bad?
It's bad because they never go back to it. They never go back to it throughout the whole episode, and even what is shown in there isn't really a theme that is crossed throughout this whole episode. What it is Jack Reacher. He's I don't know, 14, 15.
Yeah.
He has a brother.
Is he just this tall? Because usually people tall people, they grow at that age.
No, there's a noticeable difference.
Okay.
But yeah, he and his brother are have gone to this new town. They've moved to this new town with their mom and dad, and they're just kind of walking around wanting to go to the beach. And then these bullies on bikes show up, and they're like, $5 you have to cross us to go to the beach. And then Jack Reacher is like, no, and then they're about to get into a fight, and then it cuts. But it never goes back to that throughout the whole entire episode.
Maybe it's just supposed to say he fights for the good of people. He's not afraid to
fight
for justice.
It was just so strangely in there. They don't even show the fight. They show them gearing up for the fight. I assume they're gonna show more of it in the next.
So what was the point of that scene?
Yeah, that was my question.
Okay.
Anyway, so then we're caught back up and we see Jack Reacher has said that the main reason he's in Margrave is because he spoke to his brother one time about this musician who he really likes, and it turns out that the musician
really likes blues, so maybe it's a blues musician.
No, yeah, it is a blues musician, and he heard the blues musician song in a bar the night beforehand, and he remembered that musician died in Margrave, so that's the reason why he's in Margrave. A little bit of a convoluted explanation as to everything that's going on, but they decided to then also hold him in behind bars because they have no one to validate his story because he said that he was on a bus.
That's his alibi.
Yeah, he was saying he was on a bus during the whole entire.
And he's a huge dude, right?
Yeah. In fact, they couldn't even use handcuffs on him. They had to use
I saw that in the trailer.
Yeah.
And then he breaks it and he's like...
He mans of seals it. Alan Ritchson is huge in this thing. It's crazy.
It is crazy, yeah. So when do we actually see him fight some people?
Well, yeah, see, that's the part that I like, because then they bring in the Hubble guy, and Finlay, it seems like, is doing his, damnedest to try and keep Jack Reacher just in Georgia, because he's not sure if they can trust him, so he's going to jail along with this Hubble guy, because he's under the suspicion.
He sends him to the jail.
Yeah, Jack Reacher and Hubble, because he thinks they might be working together. So they both go to jail together, and that's where the Mr. In-Between thing comes in, because if you remember...
So it's like a prison, actually.
Yeah, a prison. If you remember in that show, you had the Mr. in-between guy. He's been to prison. He knows how it works. He's big. He can fight for himself. And he also has this guy that he rooms with who's like not really used to it. And Hubble is not used to this thing at all. He's like a skinny guy. He obviously does not have the mentality.
It's funny because the showrunner actually worked on Prison Break at one time. He was a writer for that. He also was the creator of Scorpion and a bunch of Quibi series. But he's used to writing, I guess, prison plots.
Yeah, because they go to prison.
And he wrote this first episode.
They go to prison and they're stuck in the place where like people are going to be held for life.
Got it.
So yeah, at this point,
so even though they're just suspects, Finley is such an asshole. He's like, you're going to stay with the baddies.
Yeah.
All right.
And like, it's not like Jack Reacher is necessarily happy about having a room with Hubble. Like, he will protect him, but he's very mean to him. Like, otherwise,
just sarcastic mean.
Yeah. Well, like because Hubble, he thinks is the main reason why he's going to jail along with him because of the possible alibi or whatever. So
he's not going for the good of his heart or anything.
No, nothing
like that. He's just kind of like, all right.
But he says that he'll protect Hubble, and those are the two scenes I like the most in the prison is when he's starting to beat people up because it's the day of the prison, all the jail cells are open, and then like this gang kind of like walks into their jail cell and are about to like
white supremacist gang. Or?
No. In fact, it's run by like an African American. But he's like he starts to unzip his pants and is like about to pull out, and
his junk.
Yeah, and then that's when Jack Reacher decides to just completely beat everyone up. So that part was cool, and then there's another part later on where, for retaliation for that, even more people try to beat Jack Reacher up when he's going to the bathroom.
He likes to break limbs.
And yeah, no, and the way they shot it, I was like, yeah, like that was the Jack Reacher.
Better than the Matrix fight scenes, this last Matrix.
Way better, yeah, and it was bloody and it was gory and it was cool. I was like, yeah, so those scenes were good. And
based on just those scenes, do you think this show has been reviewed very well?
If it was just on those two scenes, I think it would have been.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, like the problem is that except for that sequence of events and maybe the first 5 minutes or all the sequences where they were in prison, I thought that the show, I was expecting more. Like it didn't meet my expectations.
Like, was it boring or what?
Yeah, there were some parts of it that were very boring because for the most part, whenever Jack Reacher is not beating people up or anything like that, he's just kind of like a standard, person who is
hero.
Yeah, trying to help them. But there's nothing like really special about him. We've had the superhero that doesn't really have a backstory to them and just like will beat people up if he has to, but also wants to figure out who the killer is.
Give me, for instance, because I've got some comparisons I want to ask you about.
In terms of, I would say maybe like James Bond or something like that.
Huh. So this is like just a muscular James Bond.
I mean, yeah.
Less British.
Yeah. He's also not as like undercover, but
the thing I was thinking about while I was reading, because it's a huge dude, he's a skilled marksman, he's brutally proficient in hand-to-hand combat. These are things that I read.
Yeah, I think he was in the war. They also say like Afghanistan has some charges against him.
He goes by the beat of his own drum. He's a vigilante, a loner, and a movable force. Sounds a lot like Peacemaker.
Yeah, but Peacemaker...
He even seems like a John... Like, he's growing into John Cena. Like, I saw Alan Ritchson in BMS. He's way bigger here. He ate a lot of pizza, and
Is that what he said? Is that
he broke a joint as he was, like, working out so much for the role. But he does seem to be growing. Like, one day he will be that size.
Maybe he looks like a Peacemaker, but the thing about John Cena is there was, like, some endearing aspect to him. We also got, like, a full movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's a comedy.
Like, yeah, but here it's, like, the thing about...
He's also supposed to be smarter than Peacemaker. I get that.
Yeah, no, he is. But I like Alan Ritchson's performance actually is something that I had a problem with. He plays it very awkwardly. And I actually didn't...
He read every single book.
Yeah, no, I don't doubt that, like, he tried his hardest, but, like, I actually wasn't a huge fan of how he acted in the role. He was the person that I had the main problem with in the story, because I just felt like the way that in which he delivered his lines were so just stale. And I didn't want to say that, because I really like Alan Ritchson and other stuff, but here, yeah, I had the biggest problem
I think
with
he's playing it the way that it's written. I don't think it's maybe a comment on his acting.
So, yeah, to be fair, the only thing I've seen has been the Jack Reacher film.
Yeah.
Where Tom Cruise does play it completely differently than Alan Ritchson
That's
here.
That's what I've heard.
So,
and the fans didn't like that. The fact that Tom Cruise was cast in this role. Because in the books, he's a huge guy. That's why they cast Alan
So
Ritchson.
It seems like that. So they're actually taking the portrayal from the books more seriously than they did in the movie.
And people who hadn't read the books were fans of the... more so of the Tom Cruise version than actual fans of the book. And then this version, everybody was on board with at first when they saw the Ritchson thing. I'll get to the reviews in a second, but I wanted to compare him to a few more people, just Jack Reacher. Amos from Expanse seems a lot like this role because he also just doesn't really care too much. He's sort of a vagrant. He goes wherever he needs to be, and he does have a past though. He does have that like dark past that they kind of try to avoid with his character. Then Lucas Hood from Banshee.
I don't know. Lucas Hood from Banshee, that like whenever you compare any show to Banshee, I feel like it's always going to be different from what
Well, how so?
Because Banshee is just like, it just did the most outrageous things.
This had a random fight scene in it, you said? Like, were the fight scenes at all compatible?
Well, no, because the Banshee things were just so ridiculous. Like, they got so out of hand.
Well, he's just a random vigilante who kind of just takes justice into his own hands and pretends to be a sheriff.
No, but Jack Reacher in this is actually, like, working with the cops.
Okay.
In fact,
well, he was a cop.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
he ended all his cases, apparently. Like, he was able... There was no cases that he ended up losing. They say that in the show.
I meant Lucas Hood, though, right? That's who you're saying?
No, Lucas Hood was
a cop. Like, in the show.
He took over a cop's identity. That wasn't supposed to be his identity.
All right. How about Condor? Because we also did a series where the main character in that...
Want me to be completely honest?
Yeah, sure.
I do not remember that Condor episode.
Oh, okay. Well, it was also based on a set of books, and that's the only reason I brought it. And then Sherlock, I think there's a scene.
No, exactly like Sherlock. I have it written here. He psychoanalyzes people. Like Finlay, he sniffs things out that you should not be able to sniff out that are humanly possible.
That's in
like,
the books, too.
You don't call your wife. You're like not sure if you want to still wear your wedding ring. Yeah, no,
your phone charger has scratches on it, so that means you don't.
Right, he's like, there's a smell of cigarette coming from your jackets. He does Sherlock better than Sherlock does Sherlock.
So you think he should have played Sherlock instead?
That would have been funny.
Sherlock. But combining all those characters, the Sherlock and the Peacemaker and all, like everybody into one, is it just too much?
I think so. I think that's the thing, because like they're trying to give him multiple different angles at which like he can play, and I felt like a lot of them he wasn't able to do so well. It's weird. Like I think
they released all 8 episodes at once.
Yeah, so they didn't do the 3-episode thing.
They didn't do the 3-episode thing. So maybe it's meant to be binge watched more so than some of those other series. And maybe the first episode doesn't give you the full indication on like how good the series could be.
Yeah, no, there's definitely potential for the show. It's just weird because like I think you have to watch it to understand what I mean.
Was there an ending cliffhanger?
Yeah, so what happens is this felt also convoluted. That's the negative about the show, is that they take him out of prison and Hubble because they realized that he had an amazing cop past where he was able to again close all his cases and make all the wrong people go to jail, and he had this great thing. And so once everyone is out of jail, he decides that he's going to have to go along with Finlay because for some reason he's still under suspicion, Finlay, of Jack Reacher. And when they go to check on the bodies, and the person who's giving them information on the bodies was Guillermo from What We Do in the Shadows. He shows up for like a funny 5 minutes. Cool. He also even plays somewhat of the same character.
He's also in a commercial right now, I think.
Yeah, exactly. They go to a morgue, they pull out the bodies, and somehow, someway, Jack Reacher's brother, who I think went by the name of Joe, who they've mentioned a couple times in the episode.
Joe Reacher.
Yeah, Joe. He's one of the dead bodies.
Oh no!
But it was like the like coincidence of that was just insane, and they even comment on it. They're like, "What are the odds that you, Jack Reacher, and Joe Reacher, who you haven't spoken to in years, are just for some reason in Margrave, Georgia?"
Unless he lied about the reason why he's there.
I mean, yeah, but it was also just like the brother thing came out of nowhere. It was like, why?
That would make him more a suspect. Like I feel like fuel Finley's paranoia.
Right? Yeah, exactly. And Finley like doesn't let him off the hook either. He's like, well, what's going on? Like, why is your blah 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 blah? But you know, I mean, overall, I'd probably give the show like a 5 out of 10, which is disappointing because I wanted to like it more. I think so. Yeah.
All right. Do you want to hear the real reviews?
I'm sure they're good. I have a feeling they go ahead.
They're good. It has an 8.9 on IMDb with over 2,000 reviews. Again, it's very faithful to the adaptation. So fans of the books are definitely fans of the series.
I didn't like the Jack Reacher movie, but I liked Tom Cruise's portrayal. So that's where I'm coming at it from.
Okay. Well, maybe you just need to watch more of this in order to understand
and
where
I probably
the writer's coming from. Yeah. So almost every article made a big deal about how big the casting was for this. Like New York Times called it this Jack Reacher is going to be big. Like, get it? The double.
Yeah.
And then NPR also gave a favorable review. And also The Guardian, finally, The Guardian gave a favorable review with 4 stars. The last
like
couple
10 shows.
It's like 1 star, 2 star, yeah. And then I have a 3 Truths and a Lie game that kind of just fleshes out a little bit of the backstory between the writer and the show.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was written by Lee Child, which is a pen name for James Dover Grant, His first season follows The Killing Floor, which is the first book. And the first fact that I have for you is Jack Reacher likes his coffee black. He doesn't care about social media, and there is this unspoken rule that his face was never to appear on a cover of the books. So,
that's true. That's true.
No.
Okay. All right, yeah.
So to spite Lee Child, the writer, when he switched publishers, or was in the midst of switching publishers, during his book that the last publisher was going to get, they decided to stick a face on there and just to be like, screw you, you're leaving us, here we go. That's one.
Okay, that's one of them, yeah.
Then there's, that could be a lie. There's Child was the most outspoken about Cruise's casting. He threatened to never write a novel again if he was in the movie, but they called his bluff.
Yeah, because they made 2 of them. Yeah, so
they made 2 of them. And then the third fact that might be a lie. In a way, Child is writing a superhero version of himself. He's 6'4", constantly consumes coffee, lives a minimalist lifestyle, and also has done a fair amount of headbutting in his youth.
Whoa. Oh, okay, all right. That gives the backstory a little more context.
And then the fourth the fourth fact that may be true. This one's just true because I already told you. Ritchson read all the Reacher books in preparation for the role, so that one's true. So it's really just 2 truths and all.
The first one that you mentioned, that first half of the sentence is 100% true. When you were talking about how he drinks coffee and what else you said that he does.
He doesn't care about social media.
Yeah,
but that's all pretext to the actual fact that I gave,
thing,
which is that they stuck a picture on the cover of one of his novels, despite the fact that it was unwritten.
So this is a lie. The one that I pick is going to be a lie.
Yes, you have to pick the lie out of the 3 examples. Yeah.
I want to go with a minimalist one, but the one about like him picking Cruise was, I'm gonna go with a minimalist lifestyle. He's like writing a book about himself. He's 6'4".
Nope, that's basically accepted theory here.
Okay, so
it is the Cruise one. He didn't really care. He was okay with Cruise's casting. He just saw it as a different adaptation of the character. He wasn't like all in for it or anything. He also finds that Cruise is too old to be playing him now or anything. But and he likes the choice they went with.
So it is true that they put the face of him.
Yeah, that happened. And I read that from like a biographer of him was talking about it. So yeah. I'm sorry you were disappointed with the show because I was hoping to get into it.
I was thinking to myself when I heard Alan Ritchson and Amazon Prime and the fact that it was Jack Reacher, I was like, oh, I was really excited for it, and I just felt like it was kind of lackluster. I'll also say that there's this scene with KJ and Dawson. They're the evil people, and there was like a confrontation scene that Alan Ritchson Jack Reacher has in the middle of it. That was kind of funny because he tells Dawson to kind of fuck off, and he does it in a funny way. But yeah, here and there's enjoyment. I'm not like mad that people enjoy the show, and like I said, I'll probably keep watching just because I think that there is potential to it. But I just kind of want to see a little bit more than what felt like
5 is like really bad though.
Yeah, well, I mean,
it wasn't for you.
Yeah.
I kind of felt that way about the Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan when it came out. Like when it was announced, I was super into the idea, like the Jim's office.
John Krasinski,
John Krasinski is going to be in it. He's going to be a spy. But then like the plot ran through the first season, and I was like, well, this is kind of predictable.
Did you see the full
first season? The second season's come out since then. The third season, this is going to help people who are confused already about the 2 characters. But and the third season is coming out, but they already renewed it for the 4th season.
I think I read a long time ago that even though the Jack Reacher movies didn't do too well, they're thinking about making a 3rd one, and they're not.
No, that's not going to happen.
I think at one point they were thinking about it and thinking about making it rated R, but I guess it's not going to happen now.
That's definitely not going to happen now. However, this series should be an R-rated version, I think, considering how much bloodshed. Like, the thing I learned about Reacher that I didn't know is that he is not like, go America. He's not one of those that so many are. So when he's doing this, he's not afraid to just straight up kill people.
The action scenes were great. I'll say that. Like, he gouges out people's eyes. Like, and the Hubble guy is like really traumatized by it. So if it was just like a full-on action series with Alan Ritchson, that would be good.
All right. Okay. Well, I think that's our review. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.